After 25 years of flawless logistics coordination, I didn't expect betrayal to come with compliments in a catered lunch. But that's exactly how it happened. One Friday afternoon, just after finalizing a cross-region shipment reroute that saved the company over $70,000, I was summoned to the sixth-floor boardroom of Steel River Logistics. Waiting for me were three familiar faces and one stranger. Suited, slick, and smiling like he already owned the place. "We're embracing a new digital vision," said Carla from HR with that polite corporate tone that always meant trouble. "Your contributions have been incredible, Martin, but we believe it's time to transition to a more data-driven infrastructure." She gestured toward Travis. "This is Travis Miles, our new operational consultant. He'll be implementing Nova Procure, our AI-led logistics optimization system. In other words, you're out, the robot's in." I wasn't angry. Not yet. Just stunned. After a quarter century, I was being replaced by an algorithm and a 30-year-old with no warehouse dirt under his nails. I nodded slowly. "So, what's the plan?" Carla slid a packet toward me. A transition phase. 3 weeks. I would onboard Travis, hand over the keys to my empire, and walk away with a polite severance package. "We'd love your help ensuring a smooth handoff," she added. "Of course," I said, offering a handshake I didn't mean. And when Travis grinned, talking about real-time insights and reducing analog bottlenecks, I smiled too. Because while they thought I was being ushered out quietly, I was already calculating. Not revenge, not sabotage, something cleaner, more permanent. They were building their future on code and charts, but I'd build something else. Trust, loyalty, a human network stronger than any AI model they could ever import. And they were about to learn, the hard way, that you can't replace a legacy with a login screen. Travis Miles had never trudged through frozen gravel at 3 a.m. to cover for a sick shift worker. Never rerouted 17 pallets by phone when a snowstorm shut down 3 Midwestern hubs. Never slept under his desk during peak season to ensure the holidays didn't grind to a halt. But there he was, waltzing onto the floor of Steel River Logistics with his gelled hair, wireless earbuds, and a smug grin, talking about efficiency mapping through neural clustering like it was the Holy Grail. "Machine learning will clean up your inefficiencies," he told my team. My team. The same people I trained, celebrated birthdays with, and stood beside when OSHA showed up unannounced. Within 2 weeks, he scrapped the rotating safety checks I'd implemented back in 2007. Redundant, he called them. Next, he pushed through a full fleet automation schedule, locking out the override protocols we used during bad weather. "Data doesn't lie," he said with a shrug. But it didn't account for the icy back roads of Nebraska in January, or the veteran trucker who always stopped 5 minutes early to stretch his trick knee before unloading. The system didn't know people, it only knew patterns. Then came the subtle unraveling. Cheryl, in dispatch, diagnosed diabetic, missed her insulin window because the new batch processing tool condensed her break times. Frank, half-blind in one eye, was assigned to the night sort shift because the automated scheduler didn't flag medical limitations. He tripped over a misplaced pallet and bruised his hip. Travis brushed it off as a training gap. The first minor delay came in week 3.
One truck missed a reroute window in Albuquerque due to a missed scan on the new app. A second shipment was misaligned to Colorado Springs instead of Denver. Not catastrophic, but irritating, like a stone in your boot you can't shake out. By week 4, we were experiencing daily hiccups. Returns routed to the wrong docks, outdated barcode mappings that hadn't synced properly with third-party vendors, time-critical orders missed because the algorithm filtered them as low priority. And still, Travis doubled down. He blamed legacy culture, my protocols, my foresight, my people. Your generation relies too much on instinct, he said in a team meeting. We need precision now. Emotion has no place in modern logistics. I didn't argue. I just watched. I listened to the tension brewing in the dispatch room. I noted every temporary exception made to cover system gaps. I saw the shift supervisors checking printed cheat sheets they'd made behind Travis's back just to get through the day. Every time something went wrong, I wrote it down. Screenshots. Timestamps. Eyewitness quotes. Not because I wanted revenge, but because I needed the truth to stand long after my badge stopped working. Travis was building a digital empire. I was quietly digging its autopsy.
The more Travis relied on Nova Procure, the more the system buckled under its own assumptions. And while he paraded charts to justify his cuts, I quietly wove a safety net out of people he never even noticed. It started with Luis, the forklift technician, who'd been working the docks since I first got promoted in '99. "Martin," he whispered one morning over coffee in the back lot, "the AI keeps routing trucks through the East Bay, but it floods every time it rains. Last week, I nearly shorted out a charging station." I told him to start documenting everything: videos, timestamps, even water levels. Then there was Tanya, who handled the nighttime inventory audits. She showed me a series of misallocated SKUs that the system had logged as in transit when they were still sitting in our second warehouse. "It's double booking pallets," she said, "and no one's catching it because Travis disabled manual cross-checks." Even Cal, our overnight janitor, someone Travis had likely never spoken to, got involved. He said, "They're skipping shift inspections. Saw it twice last week. Safety lights were flickering near Dock 4. Nobody logged it." He started keeping a nightly photo journal, sending me images of neglected maintenance points. Together, we became a silent coalition: the overlooked, the dismissed, the ones who'd been told their experience was obsolete. Every report they gave me, I archived. I color-coded categories: misrouting, red; safety risks, yellow; personnel violations, blue; overrides, gray. I was building a dossier, not just of errors, but of a pattern, a deliberate, dangerous erosion of human oversight. Then came the breaking point. A shipment of pressurized canisters, destined for a medical supply client in Ohio, was delayed due to a reroute. Nova Procure had flagged a shorter bridge route. Problem was, that bridge was under structural repair. The truck was turned around by local authorities and the shipment missed its critical delivery window by 36 hours. That mistake cost the company $130,000 in fines and lost contracts. Travis? He called it a routing hiccup. Corporate called it growing pains. But I called it leverage. I didn't pull the trigger yet. I knew more was coming. Instead, I reached out to someone who actually understood logistics, not from a screen, but from the ground up. Monica Levins, Regional Logistics Director at Vanguard Foods, our biggest client and one of the few who still believed in handshake trust. Over lunch at a quiet diner, I laid it out without theatrics. "Monica," I said, sliding a folder across the table, "they've replaced human judgment with AI that wasn't ready. We're talking skipped QA, unsynced deliveries, and dangerous route assignments.
She opened the folder, her eyes narrowing as she flipped through photos, email chains, and time-stamped logs. "Is this happening now?" she asked. I said, "Every week, and sooner or later, it's going to affect your deliveries." She exhaled slowly. "I'll have my team start auditing every inbound truck from Steel River, quietly." That was all I needed, a foot in the door. The audit wouldn't stop the chaos, but it would document it. And once that happened, Steel River's image, its revenue, and Travis's entire digital transformation would be on a countdown clock.
The moment Vanguard Foods froze all new contracts, panic hit Steel River like a rogue freight train. Orders stalled, delivery estimates ballooned, internal Slack channels lit up with all-caps panic from managers who had once praised the seamless modernization. And right in the middle of it all was Travis, looking like a man who'd bet his house on a blueprint and just realized the measurements were wrong. I got the call on a rainy Tuesday morning. "Martin," it was Don Tran, the COO. We need your help." His voice was tight, forced through gritted teeth. "There are a few operational inconsistencies we think you're uniquely qualified to help resolve." I didn't gloat. I didn't even smile. I just asked one question. "Will I have full access to the system logs and authority to override AI protocols if needed?" Silence. Then, "Yes, whatever you need. Just come in." When I walked back onto the floor, there was no welcome party, no apologies, just chaos. Forklifts backed up at Dock C, dispatchers barking into phones, Travis pacing in his office, running a hand through hair that had lost its shine. I didn't waste time. I went straight to the command terminal and started digging. What I found nearly made me sick. NovaProc's learning model had been tweaked by Travis himself. He'd requested the vendor disable certain manual failsafes and suppress real-time alerts to make the dashboard look smoother for investors. In other words, he'd muted the system's brakes to make the ride look faster. It had auto-approved routing through closed zones, misfiled compliance documents, and was still prioritizing cost-cutting paths that were now triggering returns. And worst of all, he knew. I found an internal message chain where Travis acknowledged the risks. "We can circle back on patching once quarterly numbers are in. If anything breaks, we'll call it an unexpected system variance." He wasn't just incompetent. He was calculated. I compiled the data, every manipulated field, every ignored alert, every cover-up. I printed the logs, highlighted messages, attached photos taken by Tanya and Luis from earlier weeks, labeled them by impact, delays, losses, safety risks, compliance breaches. By the time the folder hit 72 pages, I sent it, securely, to Monica at Vanguard. Then I turned to Travis, who hadn't looked me in the eye once since I arrived. "We need to talk," I said. He followed me to the small operations meeting room, now my war room. I dropped the binder on the table. "I'm giving you a choice, Travis. You can stay quiet and take the fall when this all becomes public, or you can cooperate and give corporate the full story. Your edits to NovaProc, the denied maintenance requests, the falsified logs." He swallowed hard, his hand twitching toward the folder. "I didn't think it would spiral. It was supposed to streamline things." I snapped. "You streamlined people out of safety, out of stability, out of jobs. There are real consequences to pushing systems beyond their limits just to look good in a spreadsheet." I let him stew in the silence before adding, "You have 48 hours. After that, I go directly to the board and the safety commission, and trust me, they'll be far less forgiving." I left him there, pale and shaking. That night, I received a message from Travis. "I'll cooperate. Tell me what you need." The first domino had fallen, and this time It wouldn't stop until every corner-cutting executive and algorithm-hugging director at Steel River felt the weight of what they tried to bury. The morning of the board meeting, the energy inside Steel River's headquarters was razor-sharp. Everyone knew something was coming, but no one expected me to be at the center of it. I didn't bother with small talk as I stepped into the 12th floor executive conference room. The usual suspects were already seated: COO Don Tran, CTO Elise Marin, legal counsel from corporate, and a visibly sweating Travis pretending to scroll through his phone. I set down a heavy black binder on the table. "This," I said evenly, "contains every system failure, every manipulated log entry, and internal message where Travis bypassed safety and compliance to make Nova Procure appear more efficient than it was. And Vanguard Foods has already reviewed a copy." There was silence. Elise lifted the top page, a screenshot of the internal thread where Travis had written, "Disable alerts temporarily. Need dashboard to show stable for next review." Her expression went cold. I continued. "The bridge incident that cost us $130,000? It was avoidable. The routing logic had flagged it, but Travis suppressed the notice. And the misallocated medical shipment? Approved without human verification. He knew what he was doing. And now we've lost our largest contract, employee morale has tanked, and safety violations are piling up like expired permits." Travis finally raised his voice. "This is a smear job. Martin's trying to sabotage the system because he couldn't adapt." I didn't even turn toward him. "Travis," I said, flipping to a time-stamped image of Tanya's mislabeled inventory audit, "your own override signature is embedded here, and again, right here." The legal counsel leaned forward. "What do you want, Mr. Grayson?" I locked eyes with her. "I don't want my job back. I don't want titles, but I want the system rebuilt from the ground up. I want human oversight reinstated. I want real shift managers back on the floor. You want to keep Nova Procure? Fine, but it runs as support, not lead." Elise whispered something to Don. Then he cleared his throat. "Let's take a vote." It was unanimous. Travis was dismissed on the spot. Nova Procure was removed from primary operations, reassigned under IT audit, and Steel River's digital transition plan was put on hold pending review. As Travis stood to leave, he looked like a man whose power had been built on sand, and the tide had just rolled in. Later that week, Don called me into his office. "We want you to come back, Martin. Full leadership authority over warehouse operations. Report directly to me." I shook my head. "That's not what I'm here for anymore." He blinked. "Then what do you want?" 3 days a week, consultant contract. I'll rebuild the safety protocols, retrain the supervisors, and restructure workflow around real data. Human-driven data. You want real-time insights? Start by listening to the people running the floor. Don exhaled. "That's fair. And one more thing," I added, standing up. "Get Tanya, Lewis, and Cheryl back into full supervisory positions. They were holding this place together while your consultant was busy crashing it." He nodded. The next Monday, I returned to the warehouse, not as an employee, but something stronger, the foundation they never should have tried to replace. Machines might move faster, but people, when empowered, keep the system from breaking in the first place. 3 months after the dust settled, I stood once more inside the heart of Steel River's warehouse, not as an employee desperate to be heard, but as a respected consultant, brought in to rebuild what never should have been dismantled. The hum of forklifts, the
The rhythm of coordinated loading bays, the subtle nods from floor staff as I passed, everything felt right again. The company didn't just recover, they recentered. They reinstated human-led shift oversight, restored safety check protocols, and even modified NovaProcure into a supportive tool, no longer a blind leader. Tanya was promoted to logistics coordinator, Lewis now heads predictive maintenance, and Cheryl, she finally got the ergonomic desk and flexible brake system she'd been requesting for 3 years. But beyond the wins, there was something deeper. I learned that silence isn't always surrender, that staying calm in the face of corporate arrogance doesn't make you weak, it makes you dangerous in all the right ways. And more importantly, that experience, real, hands-on, been-through-it experience, matters. No system, no spreadsheet, no shiny consultant can replace what people build with time, care, and intuition. The lesson? Don't let anyone convince you your value is outdated just because they can't quantify it. Now, I work on my own terms. I consult for companies that understand balance, that see tech as a tool, not a crutch. And when a team gets too confident in the algorithm and starts ignoring the people on the ground, I walk in with a binder, a calm voice, and 25 years of proof that legacy isn't the past, it's the backbone. Have you ever been replaced, underestimated, or written off only to come back stronger? Share your story in the comments. Let's give dignity back to the ones who built the foundation. And if you believe in stories of quiet strength, justice, and earned respect, subscribe. More are coming.